Chapter 182 of One Punch Man was a lot better than I thought it was going to be. We get the conclusion of Saitama versus Tatsumaki. We get even more information on Tatsumaki and Fubuki's childhood. And honestly, I think we got one of the more heartwarming scenes in the entire story at the very end. I'm going to be honest at the top of the video here. I've been kind of meh on the last couple chapters. I mean, there's been some highs here and there, like the whole return of Sonic and how funny that was, and just the beautiful art by Murata in general throughout this entire fight. But I was just kind of looking forward to this whole fight ending pretty soon and kind of moving on with the story, you know? But One and Murata definitely made some changes from the original webcomic version that honestly left me really loving this chapter. But first, we gotta talk about today's sponsor, Bloodline Heroes of Lithis. This game straight up has one of the most unique game mechanics I have ever seen, and of course, it looks great as well. Download and try the game for free by using my link or scanning the QR code you see on the screen to receive an amazing starter pack. Bloodline Heroes of Lithis is a hero collector fantasy RPG with sleek 3D realistic designs and unique abilities for each gender, in which you can build your kingdom and collect champions not only by summoning but also by breeding with other companions. And this is what I mean by one of the most unique game mechanics I have ever seen, because you can strategically marry and breed your champions with each other in order to create powerful hybrids to use in battle and progress through the game. You have the option to literally customize any two bloodlines out of races like elves, demons, demigods, orcs, dwarves, lycans, dragonborn, vampires, and much more. With all these combinations, you can generate over 1,000 fantasy hybrids, providing endless possibilities for your lineups and matchmaking strategies. The hybrids inherit not only the talents and traits of their parents, but also their unique appearances. Deploy your team of hybrids to a vast and realistic fantasy world where all players can earn points by battling in these seasonal guild wars, which allows you to obtain a uniquely designed hybrid champion, a Bloodcraft legend. On top of that, you can switch genders of companions freely, build your own kingdom and economy with strategic gameplay, all while enjoying beautiful scenery and interesting storylines. Download the game now for free on both Android and iOS by using my link or by scanning the QR code you see on the screen, because this way you get a special starter pack worth $20 that you only get by using my link. And this amazing starter pack includes 1 summoning crystal, 100,000 gold, and 100 diamonds. Thank you, Bloodline Heroes of Lithis, for sponsoring this video, and I know you guys are going to enjoy this game. So you kick off with Saitama crashing into the hospital that Forte is being treated at after he was hit by a car. And of course, he's like, what the hell are you doing? But Saitama just says, are your injuries okay? Make sure to stay in bed for a while, and kind of goes back towards the battle with Tatsumaki, who, speaking of which, we cut over to, and she seems visibly exhausted. She's panting and sweating, and she's talking to herself, saying that she kind of underestimated how much energy she was using in this whole fight, and that she was supposed to be the one testing him, but it feels like now at this point she's the one that's kind of straining to keep going. And it gets pretty clear in this chapter that Tatsumaki has actually been enjoying this entire fight. Like, she hasn't ever met anybody that she could just spar with and kind of let loose without, you know, obviously killing them or hurting them in some way. So she's pretty much using Saitama as like a human stress ball or something. But although she's having fun, she knows that she has to end the fight now because she's getting way too exhausted. So she does one final move by pretty much creating 2 waves of ground and kind of crashing them in on Saitama at the same time. Now, I know obviously this doesn't do anything to him and we see him just effortlessly get out of it, but I mean, come on, look at that art. Look at how amazing that move looks. I definitely love the effort from Murata here and putting so much into this awesome looking move just for it to not do anything. So Saitama starts noticing how exhausted Tatsumaki is, but she's still not giving up. She even tries lifting him with enough force to send him to outer space, but since Saitama's so strong, she could barely lift him off the ground. And then Saitama casually spits some facts when he says, you view human relationships too lightly. I mean, you're being stopped right now by the power of Fubuki's acquaintance. But suddenly Tatsumaki starts to pass out from the exhaustion, and we get into another Tatsumaki flashback where it seems like after Blast saves her and she breaks out of the research facility, she goes to find Fubuki immediately. And of course, Fubuki's pretty much a baby at this point, so it seems like Tatsumaki finds the house that she's being held at, but suddenly 4 Tsukiyomi members appear right behind her, and they look almost exactly like Apollo, the Tsukiyomi member that we were first introduced to a couple chapters back. And something I did not expect happened. She straight up murders all 4 of these people seemingly, or at least badly hurts them, because she off-screen takes care of them, and we see her extend a hand out to Fubuki to say, all right, it's okay now, we can go. And her hand's all bloodied up and there's blood all over the floor. And this is actually when Fubuki's power powers awaken because she's so scared of Tatsumaki that she wants her to stay away from her, and this burst of emotion pretty much made these psychic powers awaken. So this is when Tatsumaki starts thinking to herself, and she says, that was the awakening of Fubuki's powers. I was the one who dragged Fubuki to a harsh fate. I have the responsibility to protect Fubuki without relying on anyone else. And this is when we really get to the root of why Tatsumaki is the way that she is. And in my opinion, this is probably one of the most like heart-wrenching scenes that I've read in One Punch Man, because we're just getting full transparency into Tatsumaki's emotions for the first time. Like, she's really vulnerable here, and we actually get to learn how she really feels about everyone around her, because she starts yelling to Blast and says, Blast, I've tried really hard, but nothing works out. I don't want everyone to be afraid of me, but unless they are, things are just gonna be like before. So this is her admitting that she puts on this tough facade and she tries to distance herself from people as the most powerful person in the world other than Blast, so she doesn't get hurt again like she did when she was a little kid, being forced to go through experiments in a research facility and being defenseless and having no way of having her own life. And hey, I feel for her. I mean, she had a tough childhood, and it makes sense now why she has so many barriers up about being friends or even being nice to other people. But to end off this flashback, Tatsumaki pretty much starts getting blinded by like the glimmer of Blast's greatness, but it cuts back into her waking up to the sun reflecting off of Saitama's head and him having this like derp face on. I honestly got a good laugh out of that part when I read it. Classic one moment. But Saitama asks if she's okay, and he says he doesn't know what kind of psychic training psychics do to kind of strengthen themselves or strengthen their abilities, but he thinks that she must be training really hard because she seems pretty strong, and he says that he's very impressed. And Tatsumaki kind of gets a glimmer in her eye, but of course, being Tatsumaki, she says, I don't need you to tell me that. And Saitama's like, all right, if you can talk back to me like that, then you're probably fine. And he says, I'll just leave you with what I came here to tell you in the first place. And he says, Esper or whatever, you can live your life as you like, but if you want a rampage, don't break other people's stuff. And it just brings everything full circle, because of course, initially he wanted to talk to her because she destroyed his house. And it's pretty ironic that the whole battle they had led to a ton of collateral damage, like what he was complaining about. So, you know, him saying that could also pertain to that entire fight that they just had. And it was a nice way to wrap up the fight. But we get even more wholesome here as we go on with the chapter, because he straight up puts his hand on her head and says, I think you'd be a great hero if you abide by that. And I assure you guys that this panel here of Tatsumaki looking up at him like seemingly with admiration or something will be posted about to oblivion in like One Punch Man Reddit or on Twitter or whatever. Like it's already happening now, I'm sure. But in the last sequence of this chapter, we have Fubuki confronting Tatsumaki after she had disbanded the Fubuki group, and she tells Tatsumaki that she's gonna be like her now, she's gonna fight alone. But Tatsumaki's like, yeah, I like that attitude, but are you sure about that? And she looks back and the Fubuki group's actually chasing after her, and they pretty much beg her to take them back because they promise they'll get stronger, and Tatsumaki's about to blow them away again, but Fubuki actually gets in front of her and does it herself and tells them they were gonna come here to stand up to Tatsumaki, but they can't even handle her power. What do they expect to do with that kind of strength, you know? And they're kind of having like their own little moment here, but Saitama's off to the side saying like, what the hell is going on? Like, what is this? So he wonders to Tatsumaki, like, why don't you just let them be, you know, kind of let them do their thing and be satisfied doing what they want to do. And Tatsumaki pretty much tells him it's none of your business. And then we get one of the rare Saitama moments where he actually spits some like real inspirational stuff that actually gets to you and means something, when he says, I couldn't even be a wolf level before I started muscle training. Even though they're weak now, no one can tell where their limit is. And I mean, isn't that true? Like, Saitama was super weak, average guy when he first started training, and now look at him, he's literally the most broken character in like all of manga almost. I say almost because I don't want to, you know, piss people off, whatever, but you know what I mean. Love these moments from Saitama. But that seems to light a fire under Tatsumaki like it did for me, because she's like, all right, Fubuki, that's enough. You guys better get stronger, or else if you let something happen to Fubuki, I will get rid of you guys for good this time. And she turns to Saitama and says, the test is over for now, but when I feel like it, I'll give you another surprise test, so be grateful. And Saitama's just like, nah, man, I'm good. But that's the end of the chapter. I definitely love this chapter. It's one of those low-key really good ones that doesn't have a ton of action and fighting going on, but really good storytelling in my opinion. But what did you guys think? Let me know in the comments below what you thought about this chapter. Were you pleasantly surprised like I was? Did you still not like it, or would have rather them kept it the same as a webcomic? That opinion is valid too. Let me know in the comments below. That's it for this one, guys. Have an absolutely wonderful night, and I'll see you guys in the next one.